Good afternoon. So, I've been doing a lot of reading um, past few days, actually past few weeks. I've been um, in the stories of Cain and Abel, and I've been reading, you know, all the books as far as Genesis, Jasher, and Jubilees. And a few weeks back, I did the Bible study of Genesis chapter 4, verses 18 through 26. And the video uh, for the um, Bible study was named The Fathers of, okay, the lineage of Cain. And as I've been reading more on the Cain and Abel's stories, um, Yah has, given me more insight, and He laid it upon my heart to do this video. Um, and as we listen to that Bible study of Genesis chapter 4, verses 18 through 26, I want you to think about this video here while listening to that Bible study. Um, and I want you to understand during the beginning times of Cain and Seth, because those are the two brothers and those are the lineages of the two brothers, that from Adam to quite a few generations, okay, um, we're all living at the same time. Because if you think about it, living to 100, 150 is being young for them, because they lived upwards to 900 years old. Okay, some of the youngest, I think the youngest I remember was someone living 777 years old. So with that being said, being 100 years old was being young, and they all lived at the same time. So we have to understand that they cohabitated amongst each other, and all these things were going on while they were still present, living together. I'm going to pray real quick. Heavenly Father, I hope that you bless this message. Heavenly Father, I ask that you increase in me while I decrease in myself, and allow this message to become a seed of understanding. I ask these things in your darling Son's name, Yahushua, our King, our High Priest, and our Savior. So I'm going to give a pretext verse, okay? And we're going to start off in Daniel for this pretext verse. And this is just a deeper video and understanding of the, the Bible study of the fathers of Cain and Abel's lineage, okay? Pretext verse is Daniel chapter 4, verse 30 and 31. And it says, as he looked out across the city, he said, look at the great city of Babylon. By my own mighty power, I have built a beautiful city as my royal residence to display my majestic splendor. And while these words were still in his mouth, a voice called down from heaven, O King Nebuchadnezzar, this message is for you. You are no longer the ruler of this kingdom. All right. Strong, 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 strong. All right, we're going to start off in Genesis chapter 4, verse 17, and I mark this as Cain built a city. And it says, Cain had sexual relations with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Then Cain founded a city, which he named Enoch after his son. Moving on to Jubilees. And I titled this When the Angels Descended. Jubilees chapter 4, verse 15. And it says, in the second week of the 10th Jubilee, Mahalaal took unto him to be his woman Dinah, the daughter of Barachial, the daughter of his father's brother. She bore him a son in the third week in the 6th year, and he called his name Jared. For in his days the angels of Yahuwah descended on the earth, those who are named the watchers, that they should instruct the children of men, that they should do judgment and uprightness on the earth. Okay. A reminder, Jared is in the lineage of Seth. Okay. Not Cain. This is giving you an understanding of what's going on at that time. All right. We're moving on to Enoch chapter 7, verse 1 and 2. And then I'm going to read 10. I'm labeled these next two Enoch verses or passages, the teachings. All right. Enoch 7, verse 1 and 2, and I'm moving to 10. And it says, it happened after the sons of men had multiplied in those days that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the watchers, the sons of heaven, beheld them, they became enamored of them, saying to each other, come, let us select ourselves women from the prodigy of men, and let us beget children. Verse 10 says, then they took women, each choosing for himself whom they began to approach, and with whom they cohabited, teaching them sorcery, incantations, and the dividing of roots and trees. Still talking about the teaching, Enoch 8, verse 1 and 2. It says, moreover, Azazel, meaning that he's more angry with Azazel out of all the angels that descended down to the earth. He says, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint and beautifying of the eyebrows, stones of every valuable and selected kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Enmity increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Genesis chapter 4, verse 19. I may read more, but I'll call this section the fathers of. This is in the lineage of Cain here, and it says, Lamech married two women. The first was named Adah, and the second was named Zillah. Adah gave birth to Jabal, who was the first of those who raised livestock and lived in tents. His brother's name was Jubal, the first of all who played the harp and flute. Lamech's other wife, Zillah, gave birth to a son named Tubal-Cain. He became an expert in forging tools of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain had a sister named Naamah. So understand, Lamech had, right here, Lamech had three sons. One was the first to live in tents. So invention, living in something, okay? That was Jabal. The second was Jubal. He was the first to play the harp and flutes, the wind instruments. And then the third son of Zillah was he was an expert of forging tools of bronze and iron. Okay, now we just read back in Jubilees, I believe, um, that in the time of Jared, okay, in the time of Jared, or when the angels came down, they taught, or Azazel taught just those things, okay, especially um, forging tools and weapons, okay, teaching them how to alter things, okay, bracelets, um, beautifying the eyes, all those things that makes the world go round here, whether it's war, whether it's merchandise, whether it's beautifying things, things of that nature. So those sons were the fathers of those things. They were the first to do these things. Okay. We're going to go to Jasher chapter 2. Let me go ahead and go there real quick. And let me look what I want to read. Chapter 2, verse 26 through 31. 26 through 31. And it says, And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. And Tubal-Cain, his son, was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain, his son, was with him. And while they were walking in the field, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced towards them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal-Cain his son was very young. And Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrow he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be an animal. And the arrow entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died. And Yahuwah required Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Habal, or Abel, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he had spoken. And it came to pass, when Cain had died, Lamech and Tubal-Cain went to see the animal which they had slain, and they saw, and behold, Cain, their grandfather, was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this, and in clapping his hands together, he struck his son and caused his death. And the women of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. And the women of Lamech hated him from that day, because he slew Cain and Tubal-Cain. And the women of Lamech separated from him, and would not hearken to him in those days. Now we're going to Genesis chapter 4, verse 23. Again, New Living Translation is thought for thought. I'm going to go ahead and read the King James Version real quick. And it says 23. And it says, And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. Okay, so in this thing, we know, and we already read in Jasher, that it was an accident. Okay, but they were out in the wilderness, walking in the fields. Okay, what I want to do at this point in time is to go into the a deeper understanding. Okay, so I'm going to go into a passage in the story of Esau and Jacob, and then I'm going to go into a prophecy from Jacob to his sons Simeon and Levi. Okay, so to get a little bit understanding of what just went down with Lamech, Tubal-Cain, and Cain. All right, so we're going to go to Jasher chapter 26, verse 17. And it says, again, this is Esau and Jacob. And it says, and the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field, and Yaakov was a man perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of Yahuwah and the commandments of his father and mother. All right, now we're going to go to a little bit further to Jasher 27, verse 1 through 7. All right, this is about Esau and what he did before he gave up his birthright. All right, for Jasher 27, verse 1 through 7. And Esau, at the time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went in the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, same as Raphael, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day, Esau went in the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they were moved at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. All right, Esau is lurking Nimrod. Okay, lurking for Nimrod. He concealed himself and lurking for Nimrod. Verse 6, it says, and Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. Okay, they didn't know he was around. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place. He drew his sword and hastened and ran to Nimrod and cut off his head. All right. So let me go ahead and read 8. And Esau fought a desperate fight with 2 men that were with Nimrod, and when they called out to him, Esau turned to them, and he smote them to death with his sword. All right, so again, they was out in the field. All right, Esau was an expert hunter. Okay, he stayed in the field while Jacob stayed in the tent, learning the word and the commandments of his father and mother, and living amongst Abraham, because we know Abraham is a friend of Yah. So he was learning the word. Okay, but Esau was a deceptive and a designing man, like they said. Okay, so he was a hunter, always in the woods, and we heard that we know that Nimrod was a hunter as well. He was a mighty man, but for some reason, Nimrod was jealous of Esau. And in this passage, Esau was lurking Nimrod. So he was hunting Nimrod. All right. So we have this understanding of being out in the field. We have this sort of spirit or this thing that goes on when when you have people who like to hunt, who like that sport of hunting. Okay, so now we're going to move on. Okay, to Jacob when he get in his later years and he is prophesying about his two sons, Simeon and Levi. All right. So the prophesy of Simeon and Levi, Genesis 49, verse 5 and 7. All right. Genesis 49, verse 5, 7. And I'll read 5 through 7. Okay, Genesis verse 5 through 7. And it says, this is Jacob. Okay. And it says, Simeon and Levi are two of a kind. Their weapons and instruments of violence. May I never join in their meeting. May I never be a party to their plans. For in their anger they murder men, and they cripple oxen just for sport. Right? And a curse on their anger, for it is fierce, and curse on their wrath, for it is cruel. I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob. I will disperse them throughout Israel. All right. So the Bible study that we had from Genesis chapter 4, verse 18 through 26. What I want y'all to look at and understand, like I said, the title that I did for that was the fathers of, okay, the lineage of Cain. Okay, the fathers of the lineage of Cain. Now we know that Seth was the promise. Okay, we know Cain was the sin, okay, of the family. All right, and with that being said, he is also the son of the serpent, son of the devil. Okay, so as soon as he was banned from the face of Yahuwah, he had a grand idea, and he was the first to build a city. So that grand idea to create came from his father, the serpent. All right. The reason why I'm saying this is because as you look into the lineage of Cain, his children and grandchildren were the first for these inventions, coming up with these inventions. Okay. Jabal was the first to live in tents. Okay. Jubal was the first to play the harp and winds. Okay. And then you had Tubal-Cain, who was the one who learned. He was an expert um, smith of making tools and weapons out of metals. But not only that, making bracelets and ornaments of all those things. Okay, and we read in the time of Jared, which was in the same time that was going on, when his mothers didn't speak to his father. Okay, um, that's when the angels came down and Azazel taught. Okay, let's go back again. I'm going to go to Enoch 8. Okay, and it says, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint and beautifying of the eyebrows, stones of every valuable and selected kind, and all sorts of dyes, so that the world became altered. Enmity increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Okay, so as we look and we understand that Cain's lineage, okay, was the seed, okay, and I don't mean that just sticks with just Cain's lineage, but because we see Esau, but and then we see Simeon and Levi, which that's a whole nother story. But we see that being a son of the serpent, he the serpent or the devil give them the imagination. Okay, so with that understanding, I want you to listen to this. All right, we're going to go to Revelations 18, verse 21 through 24. Okay, and it says, then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a huge milestone. He threw it into the ocean and shouted, just like this, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down with violence and will never be found again. The sounds of harps and singers, flutes and trumpets will never be heard in you again. Okay? We're talking about harps and singers and flutes and trumpets will never be heard in Babylon again. Then he says, no craftsman and no trades will ever be found in you again. Okay? Craftsmen building things, of building weapons and building things to sell. Okay, it says craftsmen and no trades. Okay, bracelets, things that you can sell, makeup, all that stuff. Okay, which that sounds crazy. Then it says, the sound of the mill will never be heard in you again. The mill. Okay, all right. Verse 23, it says, the light of the lamp will never shine in you again. The happy voices of brides and grooms will never be heard in you again. For your merchants were the greatest in the world, and you deceived the nation which with your sorcery. Okay? The merchants were the greatest in the world, and you deceived the nation with your sorcery. In your streets flowed the blood of the prophets and Elohim's Kadash people, or holy people, and the blood of the people slaughtered all over the world. All right. So those things that were created, okay, those things that Azazel, as Yah said, he was more angry at that one angel showing these high heavenly secrets, okay, that sorely corrupted the world. He said, um, the merchants, those very things that Azazel taught, okay, he taught war, okay, showed people how to make weapons and tools, things of that nature, okay, and the beautification of bracelets. And it said, okay, it says swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments. Okay, we're talking about things of merchants, okay, things that are being sold, inventions, okay. We're talking about now in these days, we're talking about the inventions, the merchants of the world. We're talking about the billionaires of AI and all these things that have us controlled and locked down. Okay, so something to be said. All right. With that being said, okay. So he said, Azazel. Okay, you taught those things. All right, and with that understanding, the seed of Satan just not didn't stand with Cain, but all of those who create things. And that's saying that good intentions paves the way to hell, I believe, something like that. But all of those things that are created is made as an idol, okay? That we lean on those things instead of leaning on the Most High, okay? And we look to those things to make our life better and not to the Most High Yahuwah, okay, to our Father. So I'm going to leave with this verse, and it says, we're going to Psalms 49, 10, and 14. Psalms 49, 10, and 14. And it says, those who are wise must finally die, just like the foolish and senseless, leaving all their wealth behind. The grave is their eternal home, where they will stay forever. They may name their estates after themselves, but their fame will not last. They will die just like animals. This is the fate of fools, though they are remembered as being wise. Like sheep, they are led to the grave, where death will be their shepherd. In the morning, the godly will rule over them. Their bodies will rot in the grave far after their grand estate. May this lesson be a seed of understanding. And thank you for taking the time to listen. In that sense, thank y'all for giving me this opportunity. And I'll see y'all next time. As he looked out across the city, he said, look at the great city of Babylon. By my own mighty power, I have built a beautiful city as my royal residence to display my majestic splendor. And while these words were still in his mouth, a voice called down from heaven, O King Nebuchadnezzar, this message is for you. You are no longer the ruler of this kingdom.